Welcome back.
Episode 11. She hates that I say that. I love to say it.
No, it's not that I hate it. I just think it's funny because, I never know how to open up these episodes, and I haven't known since I was doing the podcast all on my own. So now it's just funny. It's just like we're such creatures of habit.
Consistency. That's what you always talk about.
Consistency. It's true. Okay, today, if you've been following over on social media, you saw that we just went through a monitored cycle, and LUFS, I don't really know how you pronounce it, just happened. So I figured today we could talk about kind of like where we are in our journey, the disappointment that just happened, how we're feeling moving forward, and then also LUFS. And then next week, we're going to talk about a monitored cycle, or also known as a follicle series. I was originally going to put them all in one, but I feel like you would be here for an hour listening if that was the case.
And we're trying to keep them a little bit shorter.
Yeah. Steven says I talk a lot.
I think we got to be succinct, We got to be concise with our words.
I know I do ramble, 100%.
Yeah.
But we're working on it.
Also, if I get a vote on whether we call it LUFS or loose, I go LUFS.
Yeah, so I've always called it LUFS, but my doctor this past cycle, because I recorded it while in there and I was listening to it back, and she was like, oh, LUFS again. We got to get rid of this LUFS. I was like, wait, what?
LUFS.
But I didn't even, my brain didn't register it while I was in there, because all I was thinking of, doom, we didn't ovulate again. But then I watched it back, and I was like, oh my gosh, LUFS? Wait, what?
It doesn't sound right to me.
So it's LUFS, and it's an acronym. Is that what it is? An acronym. It's luteinizing unruptured follicle syndrome. So basically what is happening in your body is creating follicles, but for whatever reason, right when ovulation is supposed to happen, the follicle doesn't rupture and release the egg. So essentially the follicle just continues to grow and it can become a cyst. So you do not have a chance of conception that cycle when that happens, because you did not release an egg. Therefore, the sperm cannot get to the egg. Therefore, no baby can be made. So it's such a bummer. This has happened in the past to me quite a few times. And the only way that I'm aware, I think the only way to know if LUFS, whatever is happening is through a monitored follicle series, because my BBT still rises. I still get the dip and it rises. My progesterone still is rising in my 2-week wait. Now it's not in the optimal area, but it's still in the normal range. And I also have endometriosis, so that can affect progesterone too. So my BBT still rises, my progesterone still rises. I still get fertile cervical mucus. My boobs still get sore in my 2-week wait. I still have the 2-week wait symptoms. My period still shows up on time. Now this is a little wild, because I've had, ever since I started talking about LUFS, so many women have been like, whoa, I wonder if this is happening to me. And then they'll go talk to their doctors and be like, hey, can we do a follicle monitoring? And the doctor's like, are you getting your period on time? And they say yes. And they're like, then you ovulated. No.
So they discount it. And
yeah. And this is why I always say advocate for yourself, because, I don't know if follicle series is just something like NAPROs do. I know if you go through IUI, it happens, because they want to make sure. But I know it's ever since I've seen a NAPRO since the beginning of our journey, they were like, let's do a follicle series and look at your follicles. So I don't know. And didn't you say it's a 20% chance?
Yeah, I was reading a case study, and I believe it said 20, but it also had a range on it. So don't quote me. I could probably link the study, but it's a 20% chance it happens each time if you have this. So
so interesting.
It was a study.
But it doesn't happen every time.
It doesn't 20% chance. Yeah. So it's not going to happen every time. And then I'll try and find the study, because you might want to talk about this. Acupuncture, they were doing a clinical trial to see if acupuncture helped reduce the symptoms or the occurrence.
And did it?
I think, I don't know if it was definitive where they could be for sure. It seemed to have positive effects, but it has to be statistically significant for them to claim stuff. So I'd have to reread it
and
again.
I've been doing acupuncture, and it is LUFS has happened. LUFS. I don't like LUFS. LUFS has happened while I did acupuncture, and it's also happened some cycles, and it also hasn't happened some cycles when I've done acupuncture. So I don't know. Like, this is just what's so frustrating, because there's just not enough funding to research things like this more. So, a lot of doctors aren't even very aware of it. A lot of doctors don't look for it, and it's so frustrating. Like, doctors being like, oh, you're getting your period, 7 days post ovulation, progesterone looks great. So you ovulated, but my body does all that when LUFS happens. And here I am, and it's not happening. And the only way to know, I don't know if I already said this, but the only way to know if LUFS is happening is through monitoring. But you have to make sure you're going back 24 to 48 hours after suspected ovulation, because that's how they know if the follicle has then been ruptured and the egg has been released. So what happens for me when I go back in after suspected ovulation is the follicle is just continuing to grow. So like when I went in Friday, the follicle was a pretty good size. And my uterine lining was the best it's been, all these things. And she was like, okay, you're probably going to ovulate over the weekend. And then I went in Monday, and Friday was cycle day 11. Monday was cycle day 14. And normally I ovulate around cycle day 12, 13, 14, 15. And like, that's all very normal. And when I went in cycle day 14, I wasn't assuming that that's when we were going to know if I ovulated or not. I thought we were going to go in and she was going to be like, okay, you're probably going to ovulate today. But she did say over the weekend, like, make sure y'all are having intercourse because you could ovulate over the weekend.
Intercourse.
And I get an LH rise too. Still get an LH rise as well. So I went in Monday and my cervix was shut. Because what's really cool with monitoring is you get to see your cervix open and then shut. And your cervix is only open during your fertile window. And because, obviously your body is protecting what's happening in your uterus and doesn't want anything to go in there. So it opens during your fertile window, and that's when you have fertile cervical mucus that protects anything that's going up your vaginal canal and into your cervix area. So you have that mucus protecting anything that's going in there. And then it closes, and then the cervical mucus ends. The fertile cervical mucus ends. Isn't that so interesting? The body truly, the more and more I learn about how the body works, I'm like, getting pregnant is just insane.
Yeah, I know.
Like, the amount of things that have to happen, have to line up, have to work out, it's insane. So when I went in Monday, my cervix was shut. So therefore my fertile window was over. My fertile cervical mucus had ended. Like, Saturday was the last day I saw it. So she's like, we suspect your body tried to ovulate cycle day 12, which was Saturday.
Well, what about, he went in and one of your other follicles, it didn't produce an egg, or there was a cyst on it, right?
Yeah.
So do they think then that was like from a previous cycle of
So she said it could have been two things. When she looked at the cyst, because this was on, I think, my left side, there was a cyst. My right side was the good dominant follicle. And on my left side, it was gray. And she was like, we think that's blood filled. It's a cyst filled with blood, which, thinking back, like, I don't know if that's how every cyst has been in the past. I'm not entirely sure. But she said that it could be one of two things. It could be a leftover LUFS, right? Leftover follicle that's now become a cyst, which that has happened to me a lot. Or it could be an endometrioma from endometriosis. And that's not great. Normally, if you start creating those, you have to have a surgery to get them removed. So I'm like, dear God, please don't let that be.
So if it's that option, you're saying that like your endometriosis could have grown back and causes that? Or
to be honest, I'm not very familiar with endometriomas. All I know is my doctor was like, it could be an endometrioma, which that's not good, and that would be from endometriosis.
Okay.
So I'm assuming so.
But they can't check?
I guess no. But she did say, like, it's very, very small, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I remember I watched the recording. She said it was small, and then it's naturally passing, right? Like, you don't have to do anything for it.
Yeah, well, that's the tricky thing with these cysts, too, because sometimes your cysts can grow really big and rupture. But, the progesterone you produce in your 2-week wait is supposed to kind of take care of those cysts. And sometimes they can kind of hang out for a cycle or two. And there, I mean, cysts, when I was talking to Dr. E with the Get Project Life Herbs, he was like, cysts come and go. Like, you know, it's not going to ruin your chances for conception this month, but it could ruin your chances of a dominant follicle on the ovary that has the cyst.
Gotcha.
So I didn't have any follicles over on that left side with where that cyst was, which that's interesting too.
Right. So it was
like,
damaging
because
that
normally
process.
like those, I mean, we actually did see a bunch of little ones, but like they were way too small with where I was supposed to be in my cycle. By the way, Stephen didn't come with me to these appointments, just because like work and everything. But like, I mean, like all the appointments we've had, you've come to a few, but hasn't come to like some of them. And I mean, y'all know how this is. Like, you work, he has calls, it's busy, all the things. So I kind of feel like I like to record when I'm in there, so I can then bring it home to him and he can listen to it. And it's kind of like a second pair of ears too, because I pick up, like, I kind of feel like my brain will just fixate on something, or I just hear bad news and I can't hear anything else. And so then when I record it, I like to play it back and listen to it again, because I'll pick up on different things. Then I'll have him listen to it too. Yeah. And he'll be like, okay, no, like that's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going in there looking for all the good news in the world, right? You just want both follicles, all that. And so, and you know it's a lower chance when you don't have all that. So you hear the little thing and you're just like, oh, I can't possibly do it.
Yeah.
And then you start reading into maybe like a doctor's pause, or them not being as excited as you expect.
That Friday visit, she was so quiet for so long.
Well, yeah.
Then I looked back at the video, and the video was only like 6 minutes.
If even that. And then
I felt like she was quiet for like a year.
The pauses were literally her using, it was the ultrasound?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was using that, and like, just like, it takes time. Those images are hard to see. It was her like trying to find the right thing.
I know, and it was my first monitoring back since March. So she was like, my uterus is tilted backwards, which very interesting. I shared that on social media, and I had quite a few girls being like, mine's tilted backwards too, and I have endometriosis. I wonder if they're related. I was like, I have no idea. But as far as I know, there wasn't endometriosis like holding my uterus backwards. So I don't know. Anyways, because you know how like part of my endometriosis was on like an ovary stuck to my wall. So I was like, maybe like it's doing that with my uterus or something, but she said it wasn't. And she also has said like, you shouldn't worry about having a tilted uterus, like whatever.
It's called tilted or inverted, like the official term.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if inverted is different, something different. I'm not sure. But I did have some women tell me like, oh, you have to do certain positions with sex for a tilted uterus, like doggy or him on top. And I asked my doctor, I was like, so is there like certain sex positions that are better if you have a tilted uterus? And she was like, I've never heard that before.
That sounded like internet nonsense.
But she did say it's very important to have fertile cervical mucus if that's the case, because it's longer for them to travel. So with the fertile cervical mucus, it's like this safeguard around your uterus, right, or around the like your vaginal canal and everything. And like if it's not there, if the sperm hits the wall, they just die. Because I mean, that's what you want for like any foreign object coming into your vaginal tract. Like you don't want bacteria or anything like that. Like your vagina just kills it all. But obviously with sperm, you need them to travel. So that's why fertile cervical mucus is so important. But she like emphasized how it's like even more important if you have a tilted uterus. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, that brings up another good point on when we go to do all this testing. Will they test if like I've heard like basically?
Are you talking about in Greece? Okay.
Like if your environment, even if you do have fertile cervical mucus, I think there's cases where like fertile, it can still like kill off the sperm. Like it can basically be like a hostile environment.
Yeah.
So like, can they test for that?
Yeah, that's why we're doing reproductive immunology.
So like, okay, that will actually that's what I've been curious. Is like, what if this whole time, even when you have like cervical mucus, it's fertile, it's just killing it off.
Well, and part of reproductive immunology too is your body basically has built up this immune system where it's just like killing everything off. So it'll kill embryos before they're able to implant. And I've wondered that so much. Like, is my body like creating the embryo, but it just can't implant? I don't know. It'll be so interesting to see.
Is there a quick fix for that, or
I think so. I think it's like medication or something.
Okay.
It's not like there's no options. There's options. Okay. I'm not entirely sure what they are, and I think it's like case dependent as well of what's going on. But they're basically going to take his blood work, my blood work, and then do it all and see. So, to be honest, I am not 100% familiar on reproductive immunology. I'm so excited to learn and like go and figure it out. But I'll be honest, I've been scared to learn it.
Why?
I don't know, because I have thought like, what if we are a very rare case where there's nothing you can do about it? And they're basically like, your body can't do it. But I have talked to Dr. V with Fertilisis about this, and he's like, Addie, you've gotten pregnant before.
Yeah.
Like that can't be the case. You've gotten pregnant before.
That's a good point.
Well, he's saying like you could still have reproductive immunology issues, but not to the point where like you're never going to be able to get pregnant. Yeah. Unless my body has built stuff over time.
So it could be one of those things though, where in the back of my head, I can be like, not that I hope they find it, but if they do find it, it's like, okay, we could have
the wild thing with the diagnoses. Like, you almost hope that there's something going on.
Only so you're able to treat it. But
can I say, we've had so many things that have gone on.
Where it's like, oh, we can treat it. We did it.
It's like flashing through my brain, like the endometritis, the surgery, the endometriosis, the adenomyosis, oh my gosh, the infections in my uterus, the candida, like all these things. And it's like, oh, none of them were the quick fix.
No, not yet.
I mean, they have been for some, but yeah. I mean, I guess that leads us into kind of like how we're feeling now. I feel like I went over everything with LUFS. I would say though, if you are interested to figure out if you do have LUFS, whatever it is, LUFS, advocate for yourself. You know, if your doctor's not willing to do monitoring, maybe try and seek out a NAPRO doctor, or maybe an RE can do some monitoring like without doing an IUI cycle. But just make sure you go back in that 24 to 48 hours after suspected ovulation, because my first NAPRO doctor didn't even have me do that. So it makes me wonder, like, have I had this way back then and had no idea?
She sucked.
Yeah, she did suck, not gonna lie. I know, I have some people that live in Virginia that message me and be like, hey, who is your NAPRO here? I'm like, I'm not even gonna give you her name because like I felt so gaslit and steamrolled, and she was just not very helpful. It's just crazy because everyone was like, oh, she's the best we have. I'm like, this is the best you have? Yikes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that's everything with LUFS, I think. If you have questions, always feel free to message me, email me, any of the things. You know, I forgot. I did get asked, like, how did you know to look for this? I didn't. My NAPRO doctor looked for it. Okay. Like, I had no idea. My NAPRO doctor just looked for it. And then also, like, the crazy thing too is, you know, LUFS doesn't happen every single cycle. It's just some. We've done Clomid, we've done Letrozole, LUFS happened. I've been without those medications. I ovulated on my own. You can do a trigger shot, which is like HCG or something along those lines that's supposed to force ovulation, but they aren't a guarantee. We've done trigger shots in the past, and I still didn't ovulate.
So even if it makes you ovulate, though, with that trigger shot, with everything going on, will LUFS, whatever, affect the implantation?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Okay. No. It's just like the egg's there wanting to be released, but the follicle's not releasing it. So, you know, we're hoping with how far my body's come since, you know, the beginning of this year, the surgeries, the herbs, the holistic eating and more holistic approach, all these things, that we're hoping that with a trigger shot, it will be our thing. I don't know. I feel like it's just going to have to be the right timing, my body in the best place, like a good cycle, a good egg, all the things.
Yeah, I look at it definitely exactly like that, where it's like regular, or not regular, but people who aren't dealing with any type of fertility issues have a percentage chance to get pregnant. It's like, so we have the same thing, but it's just a lower percentage. Yeah, so it's like, it might take more, and I know that sucks, but...
Someone asked me, like, when was the last time you know your body ovulated? Kind of made me depressed. I was like, I'm not 100% sure I've ovulated this year. We think in June I did, but we don't know. We've only done monitoring in March, and we know LUFS happened in February because I had a leftover cyst happening then. So we know it didn't happen in February. January I was recovering from surgery, so I'm assuming no. Who knows though? February, no. March, no, because LUFS actually ruined our chance that cycle to ovulate at all. I had 0 dominant follicles. April, we weren't doing monitoring. April, May, June, no monitoring those months. So I don't know, like there could have been a possibility that I ovulated.
We stopped monitoring to do the herbs?
Herbs, yeah.
Okay.
And then July, here we are.
Yeah.
So I guess the next question, we can close this out. Wow, we did really good timing so far.
Yeah, great.
Wow.
Exactly where we want to be.
Yeah. How are we feeling this cycle and moving forward?
I think the hardest part right now is knowing that we can't, for me, is knowing we can't try the next cycle.
Yeah.
Because each cycle, I know, like we just talked about the percentages, I still hold on to the hope that even if we have a low percentage, it's like a percentage.
Yeah.
But the fact that we can't try at all kind of sucks. And you can explain why we can't try. I won't try and explain the science there, but that's the biggest bummer for me.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to lie. It was very disappointing knowing my body still didn't ovulate, especially with like how much I've done for my body. It can be very, very defeating and I'm human. It makes me be like, is any of this working? Like, is it worth it? Should I just say F it, eat, do, drink, use whatever products I want, like not care? But obviously I know that's not going to serve me in the long run. Like every little bit does help. My body just needs a little extra help. You know, it's not like the herbs aren't working. We've seen through blood work, my fertile cervical mucus, how I'm feeling, energy levels, getting off my thyroid. Like they have helped.
Right.
And even when I was talking to Dr. Yee and my NAPRO doctor, they were like, look at the positives here. Your body produced a follicle all on its own. It got to incredible sizing on time. My uterine lining was the thickest it's ever been. I've struggled with a thin uterine lining on and off of medication. Thickest it's ever been. So these are huge positives. And I give all the glory to, well, God and our herbs.
You give glory to herbs.
Yeah. Like I think the herbs are what's really helped us get here.
Credit to herbs, glory to God. There we go.
Credit. That was the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And it was very discouraging walking out, but I didn't cry. That's a huge one. Well, not in the appointment. Yeah. I cried after. Yeah. But not in the appointment. Normally when I get this news and we're in the appointment, I just like bawl. But I didn't. And I don't know. I feel peace. I think that's the best way to put it. I just feel peace, and I feel like I hate the phrase everything happens for a reason, because then I'm like, okay, well, what was the point of my miscarriage? What was this? What was that? And when I really look into it, I can be like, okay, I see God's hand in all of this, you know? But I do feel like, we're going to St. Thomas next week, and I would be in my 2-week wait, and I would, the plan is to avoid all alcohol in the 2-week wait. And I was like, if I don't even end up pregnant, that's going to be such a bummer that I went to St. Thomas, couldn't enjoy a few beverages, and just like the sense of relax. I haven't had alcohol in so long. Yeah. So long. And I feel like my relationship with alcohol has really changed for the better. And maybe that's an episode for another time. But like, it is nice, like every now and then, not to be dependent on alcohol, but to be like, oh, I just want to go out to eat and have a glass of red wine, or like have a freaking margarita. Oh, I'm so excited for a spicy margarita.
Yeah, those are gonna be good. Gosh. Pina colada for me, but you're on an island. Okay, whenever I go to an island, I have to have a pina colada.
When we were in Mexico, he's like, okay, I'm gonna limit myself to 1 pina colada a day.
And it's not because of the strength. It's just I will drink them until my stomach hurts, and then I'll be like, what did I do? Yeah, exactly. I love them.
Oh, but I always try and tell myself when I'm in my 2-week wait, find something exciting to look forward to that you wouldn't be able to do if you're pregnant. Obviously, being pregnant would take the cake here. Okay, I'm not saying that like that outshines it, but
silver lining.
Yeah, it does help you just like, I don't know, find something to be like, okay, I can do this. So for me, it was a few things actually this cycle. Being able to drink in St. Thomas, have a few beverages here and there, and then go to Greece and actually get this treatment done while we're in Greece. We were going to go to Greece regardless, but being able to go and actually get this treatment done, learn more about my body, your body, our bodies together, all the things, like And then also be able to enjoy myself in Greece too. Like they have some good wine in Greece.
They do. And if you go to the right spots, although we'll be in Santorini, which is kind of the more expensive island, but there are a lot of spots where it was like €5 for like a carafe of wine. It was
I bet we can
cheap.
find those little spots.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I feel very at peace. Obviously I'm human. It's frustrating, but I feel good. I feel good where we're going. The game plan when we get back from Greece is I'll go in for monitoring again. I think we're not going to do medication because my body's creating follicles on its own, so it doesn't seem like I need Clomid or Letrozole.
But a trigger shot.
But I think we're going to add in the trigger shot. Because honestly, I'm sure my doctor would be like, don't you want to see if your body can just do it? And I'd be like, no.
No, not really.
No, let's just do it.
What's with the? It's not the trigger shot. It's the medication that you can't keep doing for a long time, right?
Yeah,
Clomid. I feel like when we're back, we're doing that. We're like, you get like I don't know, 6 months of it, or
every
or
doctor's
something.
a little bit different, but yeah. So I don't think triggers are like that.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware. Because
Trigger
one of my
aware.
friends has been doing triggers for like months and months and months and months. So I think it's fine. But it's kind of where we are. We're excited for what's next. Next week, I'll be sharing all about a monitored cycle, what it entails, all the ins and outs. But yeah, what's your peak for the week? We keep forgetting this. We forgot it last week.
Peak for the week. Let's think here. Do you have one?
Honestly, this sounds so wild, but not ovulating this cycle, opening up the doors to be able to enjoy St. Thomas, go to Greece, get the treatments, all of that. Like, because I don't know, in my head, I just look at it as if I ovulated and still wasn't pregnant, it'd be a bummer. But, kind of just knowing like, nope, it's not happening. Here we are. I will say though, like one thing that really sucks about LUFS happening is it's no longer like you have a 2-week wait to remain hopeful. That 2-week wait is taken away from you because your body did not ovulate. So then it is 4 weeks until you get to try again.
Yeah.
We're going longer than that because we're not trying next cycle. Because what I'm getting done is in Greece is happening in my 2-week wait, my luteal phase. And things are going to be going in my uterus. You don't want anything to go into your uterus while implantation could be happening because it can cause miscarriages. So.
And they're going to be doing an antibiotic wash in there. So that would kill off things, right? Yeah.
But I feel like we're we're so close. I feel so hopeful. I feel like a sense of peace. I feel like that's because of God just giving me some peace. So maybe it's just the sense of peace that I have.
It's a great peak. Yeah. Thank you for stalling. Mine is...
We're like rambling.
I got to do, or I love to do it, but I planned our little island trip. So I get really into like looking at what's the restaurants, what's this, like the best route, the best map, the best way to do things, like all our stops. And I think I pulled off a pretty good Greece island experience. So that was a lot of fun to get like locked in this week.
I love that you love that because that stuff stresses me out.
I literally spent 4 hours yesterday.
I know.
Yeah.
It felt good to get done, like so exciting to be like, this is where we're staying.
I mean, it's also fun because it's like you're going on a shopping spree, kind of like picking your spots. So.
I guess that's true. I never thought about it that way. Okay. Well, thanks for being here. We'll see you next week. Yeah.
See you next time.
Okay, bye.